Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you, councillors. It's my pleasure to welcome you to a special council meeting tonight, 6 p.m, Tuesday the 1st of July 2025. I declare the meeting open and start by acknowledging the Whadjuk people, the traditional custodians of the land. We also, of course, pay our respects to elders both past and present. With NAIDOC Week pretty much upon us, seems very timely. May I ask everyone here this evening to make sure your mobile phones are please turned off or at the very least on silent for the duration of the meeting. And this meeting is being live streamed via the City's YouTube channel. Council meetings are public meetings and any information you provide this evening shall be recorded and may be publicly accessible. And the council chambers are not a parliament and parliamentary privilege does not apply. Elected members and staff do risk being held personally liable if their comments are found to be defamatory or breach any duty of confidentiality. And statements made during a council meeting are solely those of the person making them. Nothing expressed at a council meeting can be attributed to the City of Canning unless it is adopted by a resolution of this council. Elected members and employees must disclose any financial, proximity or partiality interest they have in an item on the agenda and declare the interest at the commencement of the meeting or, at the latest, when the item is about to be discussed. Financial, proximity and impartiality interests are to be disclosed in accordance with the provisions of the Local Government Act of 1995. Elected members disclosing a financial or proximity interest must not participate in that part of a briefing relating to their interest and must leave the meeting for the duration of the item. The confirmed minutes of a council meeting are the official record of that meeting. Verbatim minutes are not required under the Act. Nevertheless, the City does publish a recording of the meeting in full. Recording of council meetings must not be copied, republished or reproduced without the City's express permission. The purpose of tonight's special council meeting is to consider the 2025-2026 annual budget, and there is one additional item, and that is the awarding of tender RFT 01 of 2025, being Whaleback driving range, entertainment bays and building renewal works. At item 2 on tonight's agenda, I'm pleased to see all councillors are in attendance. Thank you, Council. At approved leaves of absence, at item 2.2, none have been requested. Disclosures of interest. CEO Michael Little, can I ask whether or not any disclosures have been received?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've received no disclosures of interest either of a financial or partiality nature for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. That being the case, we'll move on to item 4, which is question time for the public. Are there any questions from the public gallery? There are none. I therefore don't propose to open or close public question time. We shall move on to item 5, being reports, and the first report, of course, will be in relation to the annual budget. I'd like to invite Director Driscoll, the Director of Corporate and Commercial, to give a short presentation on the 2025-2026 budget. Thank you, Director Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I will keep it brief. So I'm presenting the 25-26 budget to you today, and sorry, can we go to the next slide, please? It's been built in the context of the current economic environment, which, as you've heard through our workshops, is based on the Local Government Cost Index of 3.3%. And in developing this budget, we are presenting to you sustainable financial position. We're generating operating surpluses so that we can fund asset renewal, and then we're maintaining a fair and equitable rating structure. Of our 46 services, we continue to maintain or improve those service level standards and to grow or maintain our cash reserves for our future commitments and investments. Where it's allowable and possible, we aim to achieve full cost recovery for provision of services, and we've set fees and charges on full cost recovery principles where possible. Thank you. So in terms of some of the detail, you'll see increases in employee costs. So the direct wage increase of 4% as per our agreement. There's an increase in our super matching contribution cost of around 1%, and then the additional superannuation, which which is in effect on the 1st of July, sees an increase of about 0.5%. There's also increases in recreation and Whaleback in terms of employee costs, but both of those are covered by revenue increases, so not affecting in terms of major operating cost increases. Our materials and contracts have increased by 15%, which equates to about $6 million. And that's consistent with what we've been seeing, the trends we've been seeing over the last few years in terms of all of those costs increasing around our construction projects. There's an increase for our cost for our waste disposal services of just under $3 million. In our information services, we're seeing some increases there also for our software licenses and hardware costs. And we've also this year accounting for just over $500,000 for our GRV, our revaluations of properties. The construction supply contractor rates have also been impacted, and there's a direct increase cost there this year. Our utility costs, and which has been well, I guess, publicised in the media, utility costs increasing. We're seeing between 7% and 44%. It's approximately $1.2 million of an OPEX spend. Insurance, again, across all sectors, there's increases, and we're budgeting for an increase of greater than 5%, which is about $72,000. Insurance, the workers' comp insurance is captured under our employee costs, so that's where those increases will be captured also. Interest on our borrowings has increased due to new loans, which I'll talk to you about as we move through this presentation, and then other cost increases of around 25%. However, given all those cost increases, we've worked very hard to reduce expenditure where we can and recognise only those costs that we have to meet this year. Next slide, please, Danny. So what have we got in the budget? So we have just over $5 million for improved safety service, including an upgrade and expanded CCT coverage. For our parks and sporting reserves, just under $26 million. $34 million for our recreation facilities, for golf course and community facilities. We've got just under $12 million to support community participation, activation and events, and $8 million to expand and improve our community facilities, including $4.6 million for Ferndale Park Sports and Community Centre. And that's for an accessibility upgrade, and $1.5 million for Wyong Reserve Sports Facility. We also have just under $39.5 million to maintain and expand transport and other infrastructure, and just under $30 million for environmental waste and recycling services. So as I mentioned earlier, we look to find efficiencies where we can, and I just wanted to give you a summary of some of those efficiencies. So we've introduced a new system, a new portal to receive bookings for our facilities, and it's provided us with additional revenue because we're able to manage those in a more efficient way. We've a reduction in our park and street bin collection times. Again, and that's impacting a reduction in costs. We've got efficient run reviews happening there. There's an increase in our recycling collection fleet productivity, and we're diverting 80,000 of green waste disposal from our parks and environment team through to the waste and transfer station for composting and reuse. We're maximising the use of our haulage contractors through the waste transfer station, which is offsetting fleet costs. And we've recently taken in-house the management of 37 Murray Road, where we have tenancies, thereby reducing costs of managing those tenancy agreements. And we've internalised some of our asset inspections to reduce those external audit costs that we had occurring over the last couple of years. As I said to you in the first slide, we're maintaining or improving our services, and here are some of the examples of that. We're continuing our very popular security incentive scheme and the expansion of our CCTV. Our Leisureplex building maintenance and repairs, so we're looking at improving the quality of our recreational facilities. We've a rollout of the first for local government on-demand textile waste collection service in partnership with Good Sammys, and an increased allocation, I should say, of on-demand services for community use, i.e. bulky items, white goods and mattress collection, and a new fast-track system to improve turnaround times for residential development. So in giving that information, it's highlighting to you that we are looking at reducing our costs and maximising efficiencies, but also looking to maintain or grow our services where we can. Thank you. So in relation to the figures, this is a snapshot of the figures. It shows you the budget for this for 25-26 versus the adopted budget for 24-25. You'll see the kind of mustardy line shows you the operating surplus. So we're looking at an operating surplus of 4.3 million for 25-26. If you move down the column a bit, you'll see capital expenditure, 51.9 million, and reserve transfers of 3.2, bringing a balanced budget position with a 5.95% rate increase. Thank you. So what does that mean in terms of average residential rate? So again, that highlighted cells show you with that 5.95% increase, it shows you that the average residential rate on a non-minimum will have an increase of 5.56%, and that's because of the basket of goods, of those different elements that make up that average rate, i.e. rates revenue, the waste management levy and the security levy. And the average residential rate minimum sees an increase of about 5.39%. The 5.9% in terms of average residential is an $84 per annum increase. Thank you. This shows you where we sit in terms of our cohort of local neighbouring local governments. We're remaining the second lowest in average rates, as we have done over a number of years. And we're about 13.9% lower than the average. Thank you. So in summary, we're presenting to you a balanced budget to build that financial future and sustainability. We're building reserves to meet future community needs, and we're looking, I neglected to tell you that figure, but our budget shows that our reserves will be growing to about 89 million. Now, there will be some adjustments to that as we progress this year, but certainly growing when you compare to prior years. And we're delivering those tangible outcomes for the community. I've talked through these, so I won't go through this again, but it's, you know, some of those highlights are what we're doing around safety services for our parks and for our recreational and leisure facilities. So that, in summary, Mr. Mayor, is the budget presentation.
Thank you, Director. I'd like to propose to introduce the item. It's item 5.1 on tonight's agenda. It's CC 012 of 25, the 2025-2026 annual budget. I'm happy to move that from the chair, and I'd look for a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Mark Bain is the seconder. Councillors, I'll just speak in favour of the recommendation as put. I'm really pleased to support the recommendation in front of you. We're not a wealthy council, and we don't strive to be. We never have, but we've been so focused on being a low-rating council for so many years, we simply don't have the cash reserves of comparative councils to allow us to maintain our city at the standard expected of us by our community, and I think we're starting to understand that. Whilst on the surface, our riverside locality in proximity to the Perth CBD provides a really enviable lifestyle, our financial position has prevented us from investing sufficiently in the preventative maintenance required to keep a city of our size operating effectively. I and other councillors frequently receive complaints regarding the standard of some of our facilities, most notably our leisurplexes. Ratepayers and paying users of those facilities really are demanding more of us as a council, as they should. They're holding us to account, and this budget will go a long way towards addressing those very real concerns. It was only a few short years ago I was forced to publicly defend the financial position of this city, and I know council will remember that well. But through sound financial management and some really tough decision making from this council, the CEO and also its administration, we've returned the city to a sustainable financial position, and we should all be immensely proud of that. And an indication of that has been the city's financial health indicator. A score that it last recorded was 91%, which is an extraordinary achievement for a city that has struggled in that regard for some time. I recognise the proposed 5.95 rate increase is another tough decision for this council. Yet, despite the increases you've just seen, the City of Canning's rates still remain low in comparison to local governments of similar profile. This 2025-26 budget allows us to invest millions of dollars in much-needed upgrades at our leisurplexes. We'll focus on community safety by continuing to fund our 24/7 Canning Community Safety Patrols, a service that's not provided by many other councils. We'll invest more into our CCTV network. Whaleback Golf Course, which is one of this city's few profitable enterprises, will receive a much-needed facelift to ensure we can continue to compete head-to-head with other courses. We'll continue to fund new playgrounds for our growing city, and we'll significantly invest in upgrades to our mini community and sporting facilities, as well as investing in environmental pursuits. Our focus is on providing tangible community benefit, and this budget achieves that objective by delivering improvements that our community can actually see and touch. Our community can see that their rates are being sensibly invested into projects that are highly visible, are improving the lifestyle of our residents, and which are adding substantially to the livability of this city. It's a budget for today, but it really is looking towards the future. We're a growing city. This city has achieved operating surpluses in each of the past 3 financial years. It's a remarkable achievement, and this year delivers a balanced budget which aims to continue to provide services and infrastructure for a growing city in a way that's both affordable and financially responsible. Now, I do recognise that aspects of this budget may sit uncomfortably, but as a council, we've been working really hard on this budget since April. In fact, I think perhaps it was late March. And each of us really does know exactly why the advertised rate is required. We know that. There are significant economic challenges that this budget must address and will address. Tough decisions are always exactly that, tough. But if we do not deliver what is required in this budget, then I really do fear we'll be in exactly the same position next year, perhaps worse. This is not a position that I want to be in. As difficult as it may be, I urge Council to focus on the immense benefits that this budget will deliver to the ratepayers of the City of Canning in every corner of the City of Canning, and to support the recommendation as it is. Thank you, councillors. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I support the officer's recommendation. Firstly, I'd like to thank all the staff involved in putting this budget together. It is certainly not an easy task and involves a lot of hard work and time. With many of our assets nearing end of life and showing signs of wear and tear, this budget and its CapEx program will deliver much needed improvements to address the city's asset renewal gap, including $6.5 million to upgrade sporting facilities and $2.7 million for 10 new playgrounds. The leisurplexes too are starting to show the impact of their age and popularity. This budget will provision $3 million for critical improvements to the city's most in-demand facilities. To put that in perspective, 50% of the revenue raised from the 5.95% rate rise will go towards renewal works at the leisurplexes. Residents would be rightly very concerned if the centres were allowed to deteriorate and have to be closed for lengthy periods as a result of the city postponing works or only implementing short-term solutions. So too does the city know that the Grenfell Street Bridge is nearing end of life. This budget includes $925,000 to replace this much-used structure that connects Ferndale and Cannington. What if the bridge failed in the next 2 years and was closed down with no plan to replace it? Again, residents will be right to question the city's management of community assets. With an eye on the future, this budget is responsible. We want our residents to have modern, accessible, fit-for-purpose facilities, and this budget allows us to deliver them while still remaining one of the lowest rating metropolitan councils. This budget is also responsive. Through the Living in Canning survey and the Catalyse survey before it, the community told us that safety and security should be a top priority for council. This budget includes $5.38 million for improved safety services, including upgraded and more CCTV coverage across the city, as well as continuation of the security incentive scheme, 24/7 ranger and security services, the Canning Neighbourhood Watch program, and expanded mobile CCT unit program. $100,000 has also been committed to converting streetlights to LED and improving lighting in public access ways. The budget is responsible, responsive, but also sustainable. All these programs and projects will be delivered whilst maintaining a balanced position with an operating surplus, even with escalating costs for materials, labour, utilities and insurance. The budget is another positive step forward by the City to achieving long-term financial sustainability while delivering high-quality services, programs and facilities for the community. For these reasons, I hope that the proposed 2025-2026 annual budget is supported tonight. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, and I failed to mention too, obviously, an absolute majority of councillors are required for this item this evening. Does anyone wish to ask a question or speak? Councillor Hearn, yes.
Is it fair to say that in the 2024-2025 year, without the sale of the Barbican Street property and the interest above projections, the City would have been in deficit?
Ms Driscoll, are you able to respond to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. No, the City would not have been in deficit without the sale of those. The sale of those properties are going into the reserve, to the land utilisation reserve. So operating profit, we would still have made an operating surplus and had a balanced budget.
Thank you. Councillor Hearn?
So I'm seeing the projection for the 2024-25 year is a balanced budget with no surplus. So I'm wondering how the $28 million of depreciation is cashed back from the surplus if there isn't one.
Ms Driscoll?
Thank you. So I didn't quite understand the question.
I'll just get you to rephrase that.
Sorry, the notes are stating that the 2024-2025 financial year is expected to have a balanced budget with no surplus. But then we go to 35E and it says that the $28 million of depreciation is going to be funded through the operating surplus. I'm not quite understanding how that depreciation is cashed back from a surplus if there's no surplus.
So, so you're referring to you're referring to note 35E in the attachment. Is that correct? Sorry.
Can you provide just a
The
page
introductory
number?
briefing is page
Just
14,
need
I
a
think.
paragraph number and a page number if you're able to, Councillor.
It's page 14, 35,
Of tonight's agenda?
correct. E. It's saying depreciation. That we had a revaluation of depreciation of assets this year, which resulted in an increase in depreciation, and that's fully funded from operating surplus. But elsewhere in the notes, it's saying that 2024-2025, we're expecting a balanced budget with no surplus. So I'm a bit confused about how that cash back is funded.
And through you, Mr Mayor, I might ask our Finance Manager, Ms Jones, to talk about the depreciation cashback.
Of course, thank you. Are you able to, you've got a microphone there in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. The reason why there's no surplus projected for the 30th of June estimates is that because we have already accommodated all of the transfers to reserves for the year end as an estimate, and so we've dealt with that as part of the estimates already.
Thank you. Councillor Hearn?
So is it fair to say that the transfer to reserves incorporate that $28 million of depreciation?
Ms Jones?
And I'm sorry, could you please refer to the paragraph that you initially referred to?
So on page 14, it's 35E. It's saying that, the annual depreciation is $28 million.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I might need to take that on notice.
Thank you. We'll take that on notice, Councillor
Um,
Hearn.
it's just looking to me that without, with some of these asset disposals,
I just need you to ask a question or speak to the motion.
Okay, I'll speak to the motion.
Of course.
It looks to me that without some of these asset disposals, our basic operations are running pretty close to a deficit. I do see that our rates are a little bit lower than other councils, and I think we are at a lower starting base. It does concern me that I'm not sure that we have probably a proper asset renewal funding program incorporated into our rates. This year's budget has some concerns to me that we are actually incorporating some quite significant changes. We're looking at considerable increases in income of around $12 million on the 24-25 budgeted income, almost $20 million on expenditure, and a pretty significant increase in rates well above CPI. Now, from those budgeted positions, we've seen significant changes again, and I'm expecting we would probably see the same this year. So that means that next year the starting point for our budget is actually quite a substantial change on this year's starting point in terms of future expenditure and income. That creates a new status quo. For me, this budget represents a status quo operating budget with above CPI adjustments for unscheduled asset renewals, which means that next year's status quo will be a higher base again, without any inbuilt provision for future asset renewal funding. For me, my personal queries about basic operations and details at the city have either been delayed or, in my view, obstructed by vague references to the Act. So, in my view, I don't feel I have the detail to support an above CPI rates increase of this nature, and I won't be supporting this budget.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the item? Councillor Kunza.
Thank you, Mayor Howell. Look, the proposed 5.95% rate increase is relatively high when compared to other local governments in this current financial year, and it's true that the city has had multiple rate increases in recent years that are on the higher end. But like articulated by the Mayor and Deputy Mayor, the city has rightfully been investing into asset renewal, which was desperately required. I don't actually understand, in thinking back throughout my time, why the previous councils and administrations didn't see more of a priority to invest into asset renewal and renewing the infrastructure across the city. For a long time, our libraries, community centres, playgrounds, club rooms, leisureplexes have been old and tired. I grew up here. I was there when the Riverton LeisurePlex opened, have watched it go into a bit of decay. I've played footy and tennis and cricket and gone across different local governments even in recent times and seen a number of the facilities that are provided. I'm now taking my son around to playgrounds across the city, not just the city of Canning, but the entire city, and seeing what's provided in other local governments. And I couldn't be more supportive of investing into the renewal, because never before has local residents seen where their money is going. It's been long overdue, and Ollie and I are actually looking forward to seeing the new Hossack bike track opening and not having to go down to Kwinana, which we're currently doing, because that sort of infrastructure is important for local families. You only have to look at paragraph 36 to see some of what the city is investing and that's only a snapshot of what we're doing and what we've done in previous years, but also targeting, as has been touched upon by Councillor Hearn, into a roadmap into the future and making sure that our asset renewal is good going long term. In reading the submissions from those who have provided feedback to the differential rates as per attachment 5, it's been interesting seeing, as has been the case in the last few years, that the residents who have been arguing against the increases in rates have actually at the same time been arguing for an increase in spending, lamenting certain things, whether it be infrastructure or community services. And it's a fine balancing act to try to make sure that the amount we're charging is as low as possible, whilst also investing enough into the services and infrastructure that we have. I'm pleased to see that the final figure that was advertised is lower than what was advertised, with further savings identified. I do, however, empathise with those arguing for more to be done to reduce rate rises and that more can be done to stop the cost escalations. It should be noted that one of the key cost escalation challenges experienced by the city comes from the impact of rising utility costs, especially a significant rise in costs of electricity. Now, the issue in raising this as a challenge is that the city has been actively pursuing higher electricity costs for the past 4 years simply to promote its green credentials, as has a large proportion of the sector. Now, by signing up to the Whaleback PPA, we haven't changed the electrons coming into Canning, but we have increased our prices. The sector's also signalled to the state government that it doesn't mind paying for more electricity, which is why I'm not surprised to see the state government increasing its prices for our non-contestable sites. And I raise this now because I empathise with those doing it tough, and to say that you're doing everything you can as a local government to keep rates low, then that needs to be demonstrated every day of the year and every opportunity that you have. Now, whilst I lament the previous decisions with respect to electricity prices, including the ever increases imposed by the state government, I do, however, think that the budget overall is extremely positive and should be commended. I thank all the directors and all the staff throughout the city for their work on it, including Director Driscoll, and know that under CEO Littleton, the city is definitely investing more into priority areas than it has in the past, and I think the public is seeing it. The Mayor's commented several times about how we're often contacted by local residents wanting improvements, but it's great to actually be contacted by many local residents being appreciative of the investment into the local community and that they're seeing it themselves. And I think that the city's on the right track in that regard. So I support the budget and I hope the council does too.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak before we put the matter to the vote? Councillor Secon.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. I will be supporting the budget today as well. I just want to start by acknowledging what so many families, seniors and residents across our community are feeling right now. Life is getting more expensive, whether it's rising mortgage repayments, rent, power bills, groceries or insurance. The pressure is real and growing. I hear this constantly from parents at school drop-offs, community events, local sporting clubs, and seniors trying to stretch their pensions. That's why, as a councillor, I felt it was so important that we work hard to limit the rate increase this year. The initial proposal, as we all know, was close to 7%, and while there were valid reasons behind that figure, Council made a clear decision to reduce it to 5.95% because we know our residents are doing it tough and we need to do our part to ease the burden where we can. We don't take any rate increases lightly. Every dollar matters. But I also know that residents expect us, as Mayor Hall mentioned earlier, to maintain parks, playgrounds, libraries, and the leisure plexes they rely on, from swimming lessons and senior fitness classes to kids programs and community events. We all want our streets to be safe, our shared paths and open spaces to be well maintained, and our suburbs to feel supported and looked after. I want to sincerely thank the administration, in particular CEO Littleton, all the directors and staff for their effort in finding savings and helping us reduce the proposed increase while still renewing aging infrastructure and reducing debt. But most importantly, I want our community to know your concerns were heard. This budget aims to strike a balance, preserving services people depend on while responding to the very real financial pressures households are facing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Secon. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to formally acknowledge and commend the outstanding work of Director Driscoll and her team in the preparation of the 2025-2026 annual budget. The level of rigor, transparency, and clarity they have provided throughout this process has been exceptional and has equipped us as elected members to make informed and responsible decisions on behalf of the community. It is clear that this budget has been shaped with a deep understanding of the economic pressures facing our residents. And I want to thank the administration for their strong and genuine efforts to reduce the proposed rate increase while still maintaining a balanced budget. That is no small task in the current financial climate. To our community, this council remains firmly committed to deliver excellence in service, infrastructure, and community programs. This is not just about managing the books. It is about continuing to invest in what makes Canning a great place to live, work, and thrive. Throughout this budget, we continue to support the projects, services, and events that meet the needs of our growing and diverse population. This is a budget that balances responsibility with ambition, and I'm proud to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rodriguez. Does anyone else wish to speak before we close debate? Thank you. I will then close debate. Thank you. I don't have terribly much to say other than I very much appreciate and echo the sentiment expressed by a number of councillors in relation to the immense work done to deliver the budget tonight or to get it to the position it is, and the work done by Lorraine Driscoll. And in particular, I'd like to just acknowledge Ms Driscoll for her work here at the city. This will be Director Driscoll's final meeting with this council. We sincerely thank you for your commitment to the city and your work. Not only that, your sense of humour and your calm demeanour. I've loved the way that you've engaged with this council and always made yourself available in a manner which has really been fabulous, especially since, we've got a council of varying degrees of experience, and you've always made yourself available. Whatever pursuit you have in the future. I hope it's wonderfully successful and that you thoroughly have enjoyed your time here at the City of Canning. And on behalf of the City of Canning and as council, I'd like to wish you all the best and thank you for your work here at the City. So thank you, Director. Can I just say that Councillor Kunzer, I think, hit the nail on the head. And it was funny, I read the submissions from people, and whilst we had, I think, 20 submissions at all, and the majority of those, of course, as would be expected, were urging Council not to press ahead with the 5.95 or the 6.85 rate increase that had been advertised. It was interesting to note that a number of those people had wanted us to invest far more into compliance, something that Councillor Hearn had brought up recently to do more in compliance, but also to invest into community safety. So whilst they're saying really don't support pay increases in the rates, they really were advocating for more spending. And so it's a real balancing act for this city. But look, I'm immensely proud of what we're doing. I think sometimes it's tough for councillors to speak when they have opposition to certain aspects of the budget. But it's hard not to see that the budget does actually include incredible amount of investment for every ward. Benefit for all citizens, no matter who they are. There's so much positive to be taken out of this, and so I always encourage councillors to, to voice their concerns. But and this is not meant to be a criticism of anyone, but to support where they can, because it contains so much good for our community. I'm really pleased to commend the budget this year, the 2025-26 annual budget to council, and the positive aspects that it brings to our entire community, and I hope council will support it and that we achieve the absolute majority required to pass the item. With no further ado, I shall put the item to the vote. Thank you, Governance.
The motion for the 25-26 annual budget has been carried with by absolute majority, with 8 in favour, with Councillors Singh and Councillor Hearn voting against that motion.
Thank you, councillors, for that. I'm pleased to say that we have achieved our absolute majority. The item has been passed. Congratulations, and the budget has been handed down. We move to item 5.2 on this evening's agenda, which is in the directorate of Mr. Warren Bowe, the Director of Infrastructure and Environment. It's IE 008 of 25, the final item on tonight's special council meeting agenda. The title of the report being the award of tender RFT 01/2025 Whaleback Driving Range, Entertainment Bays and Building Renewal Works. Councillors, there has been a slight amendment to the recommendation put in front of you. The recommendation will now say that Council accepts the tender from Schlager Group Proprietary Limited, trading as Schlager Group, and I think that's a convention that we should follow from here on, and so on and so forth. The recommendation appears on screen now. It also appears on page 184 of tonight's agenda. Can I have a mover, please, for the item? Deputy Mayor, thank you. A seconder from the floor. Councillor Parkinson, thank you very much. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the officer's recommendation. Clearly, there's been a couple of false starts to getting this project underway, which weren't the fault of the city, but rather because of its due diligence, which is very positive to see. I'm looking forward to seeing the works commence on the upgrade and renewal of the driving range facility. And this project being part of a much larger effort to make Whaleback not only a high quality facility, but also a future alternative source for revenue that can help offset rates. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Parkinson. It's your local neck of the woods, isn't it?
Fully support the recommendation and look forward to seeing the project move forward, and I'll be watching it very carefully and closely.
Thank you. That was very cryptic, Councillor Parkinson. Thank you very much. Councillors, anyone wish to speak against the item before I put it to the vote? Thank you. I'll put the item to the vote.
Waiting on one more vote.
That would be me.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. Motion IE 008-25 has been carried unanimously with all 10 voting in favour.
Thank you. Thank you, Governance. At item 6, confidential matters, there are no confidential matters this evening. And at item 7, closure, there being no further business at the special council meeting called this evening, I now declare the meeting closed, the time being 6:40 p.m. And I'd like to thank everyone sincerely for their attendance. Thank you and good night.